Vegas, and still.
Hey, yo, my greatness will not be denied. I told you. Devin Haney, no longer a champion. Boom, boom, boom. The WBC has announced the status of the WBC super lightweight division just right now. This is breaking news, hot off the presses. Leave it to your boy Ego, the best in the business, and it's not even close, to let y'all know what's going on. So let's read it, and I'll give my thoughts. The WBC has received several specific requests concerning its super lightweight division. The WBC Board of Governors' consideration of those requests has resulted in its rulings set forth below. So pay attention. WBC 140-pound world champion Devin Haney requested, operative word being requested. So Devin Haney requested to be placed in the status of champion in recess. The WBC Board of Governors unanimously granted the champion Haney's request and has declared him the WBC world champion in recess. Wow. Concurrently therewith, the WBC Board of Governors declared current interim world champion Alberto Puello as the WBC World Super Lightweight Champion. So he just fought on the Tank Davis card against Gary Antoine Russell for the interim belt. With Devin Haney no longer being a WBC champion, in comes Puello and he gets elevated. Similarly to Mario Barrios, when Terrence Crawford decided to move up to 154 to fight Israel Madrimov, that made him the champion in recess. The difference between these two scenarios is Terrence Crawford was placed by the WBC in that position. So Crawford, he just said, hey, I'm moving up. This is my next fight with Turki Al-Sheikh, right? So the WBC elected. The difference here is Devin Haney, his side, his legal team or his team requested to be put in the position of champion in recess, which we'll get to. So I want you guys to follow. Pursuant to its rules and regulations, the WBC will order the free negotiation period for new champion Puello's mandatory title defense against the WBC #1 rated challenger and mandatory Sandor Martin. So basically, you have Puello, who's just on Tank Davis in an eliminator, which I told you about, and he fought Gary Antoine Russell, beat him, and that's where we're at with it. So now he's the full champion. So just like Carlos Adames, he's in the same position. Jermall Charlo had a DUI and he got too much stuff going on outside. So the WBC said the game don't wait. They made Carlos Adames the full champion. So this is happening a lot in boxing. There's Sandor Martin. Now peep this. Gary Antoine Russell has petitioned that the WBC board consider granting him an immediate rematch against now champion Puello in light of Russell's very competitive, close split decision loss. After careful review, the WBC has granted an indirect rematch that will allow Gary Antoine Russell to fight the winner of the now ordered bout between Puello and Sandor Martin. So basically, Gary Antoine Russell, being a dog, being a beast, he had a close fight, a loss, and he thinks he could do better. So he probably wanted to pursue for an immediate rematch, and that's what he requested. So you got to look at what's happening here. Gary Antoine Russell was undefeated, lost. He wants to rematch the guy that just beat him. Devin Haney, he had a rematch and initially lost his undefeated record to Ryan Garcia, and then Ryan popped with Osterine, he said he wasn't interested in a rematch. Now he's coming around and saying, hey, I'll do a rematch with Ryan after his suspension. But I don't see the problem with a clean rematch, right? And it just shows you the temperament of Gary Antoine Russell. He wants that smoke. The WBC will provide updates concerning the status of the division if and when it receives any reviews, additional petitions, and makes any new decisions. So that's where we're at. So let's recap. Gary Antoine Russell, he wants to rematch Puello. The WBC says we will grant a rematch, but you're gonna have to wait because Puello needs to fight Sandor Martin because Sandor Martin's been waiting for a while now. He's been paid step aside money. Devin didn't fight him. Now Devin requested to be a champion in recess, so he's no longer a champion. Now you have Puello, who just beat Gary Antoine Russell Gar, and now he has to fight against Sandor Martin of Top Rank. Be interesting here. It might, I don't know exactly if it resets, it goes to purse bid, but Puello is with PBC, and then Sandor Martin recently signed to Top Rank. So I don't know if it'll be on ESPN or Amazon Prime, or if it goes to a purse bid type of scenario, and the winner, either Top Rank or PBC TGB Promotions, gets it. As far as Devin Haney, let's talk about it. If you got any value from this video so far, make sure you guys subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss a thing. Now, you just can't stop greatness, the Mamba mentality. I keep showing you, exuding the confidence in my ability to call this sport fairly, and it just keeps showing up, people. So I put out this tweet, Ego Stradamus strikes again, because on June 21st, so days ago, I told you Devin is gonna vacate his title for sure and not fight Sandor Martin after the WBC statement supporting Ryan Garcia, LOL. I even put the Ego Stradamus crystal ball because I knew Devin was not gonna fight Sandor Martin, even though this was at 12/13, June 21st, and now it's days later, and your boy Ego was right again. So again, give me my propers. I knew the Sandor Martin fight wasn't gonna happen. For one, Devin Haney would have to take a massive pay cut from what he's probably earned in his Ryan Garcia fight, because Top Rank only bid $2.4 million. Some of it goes to the challenger, and then about 1.5, 1.6 will go to the champion, then champion, Devin Haney, right? So pride and ego, no pun intended, gets in the way of a lot of fighters' decisions. And, you know, if you've been making a certain level of money, some people, they can't put their ego to the side and, you know, go back into the fray and take a fight like that and then not feel like they're getting compensated enough. But here's the problem, and this is what I told you immediately after the Ryan Garcia fight, and I'm not backing off the block. I mean everything I'm saying. Devin Haney is in between a rock and a hard place, because the reality is what Top Rank bid for the fight is about reasonable. Devin Haney is not Gervonta Davis. He's not Canelo Alvarez. He's not Floyd Mayweather. So he's not commanding this type of attention. He needs somebody, a dance partner like a Gervonta Davis, like a Ryan Garcia, to really up his numbers. If he's the A side or the champion, as would be the case with a fight with like a Sandor Martin, then if he got to foot the bill, it's probably not going to do these great numbers, if you will, right? Especially coming off of that Ryan Garcia performance, because people can say what they want, but these are the images that people remember, you know? And I told you guys that it's going to be hard to remove these stains. It's like spilling wine on a white carpet. You might be able to lighten it and make it fade, but you spill certain things like if you have a dark red wine, like a Merlot or something, and you spill it on a white carpet, especially if you don't act promptly, even if you do, that stain might be in there. And that's kind of what it's looking like for Devin Haney. This fight was a nightmare. And I mean, he can argue like, oh, Ryan was on Osterine, that's why he did it. But there's a lot of people who believe that Osterine will only benefit you so much. It's not going to give you a chin, not going to give you like proper timing. It's not going to teach you skill set. You know, it's cheating for sure. Cheating is cheating if you have something banned in your system. But this is what Devin Haney is stuck with. Now at 140 pounds, he's not a champion anymore at all. So it's just like, I'm curious, where does he even go from here? Which is what I said from the jump. You also have to think back. See, one of the things that separates me as a content creator, the best in the business, and it's not even close, is that I remember everything. Like, I don't forget. Memory of an elephant. So Devin Haney, immediately after, this is before the positive Osterine was even known about, Devin Haney had that video that I showed you guys at the beginning, and his team was celebrating. And at that point, it was still a loss. Again, this was before the Osterine and the no contest and all that. So Devin, in his mind and in the world's mind, was off a loss, but then he was like, you know, having a celebration, and then they decided to post it. That leaked online, and people were like, what are you celebrating for? The other thing was the team and the crowd was like, and still, meaning and still the champion. He's still the champion because Ryan missed weight. So he was ineligible to lift that title from him, despite at the point the fight was a victory for Ryan Garcia. Because again, this was before the failed PED test was even known about. So fast forward to the future, he's given up his belt to not fight Sandor Martin. Fair play to the WBC for keeping everything running along and keeping the division moving and not allowing a fighter to stall out the division. But he just basically gave up his belt, and you guys could try to nice it up. He vacated. It's pretty much, it's just a nice way to package it. And it gives you maybe some options when you finally come back. If you decide to come back at 140, you might have dibs on whoever has the green belt at that time. That's it. But this is really not much different than vacating the belt at all, you know? So that and still video did not age well, because you were and still a champion, and still you got rid of your belt instead of fighting your longtime mandatory. So people are going to consider that a duck, because you knew you had to fight Sandor Martin regardless of if you won or lost to Ryan Garcia. Now Devin Haney's campaigning and complaining online like, you guys offered a purse bid while I was going through the damages of being cheated, right? So he's trying to gain sympathy. And I told you, per that, I don't see Devin fighting for the WBC's belt. He's also come out and stated stuff like, when I come back after a year, I'm gonna fight at whatever weight class I please. I'm not fighting in weight classes. So Ryan really did a number on Devin Haney, because he's talking different. He's talking about suing. He's talking about, I'm not competing in weight classes. He just gave up his belt. I mean, the trickle down effect is pretty intense from this Haney Garcia. Meanwhile, whether you love him or hate him, Ryan is just kind of being Ryan. He playing poker, tournaments. He's doing lives, FaceTimes with Gilly and a bunch of other celebs. He's just more so acting like he was acting before. Devin Haney isn't. After this loss, he's not. And then now he's not even a champion. So what is the game plan? You're just gonna sit on the shelf and wait, and you're not a champion. It's just like, I told you, this Ryan fight very well changed the trajectory of Devin Haney for sure. And with these new statements from the WBC and updates, I feel that way even more. I said it before, but now I feel it even more, because look at what we're seeing. We're seeing Devin Haney, no belt at this point. The WBC broke down all the other people that are going to be fighting. So who knows who the last man standing will be when Puello fights Martin, and then the winner of that fights Gary Antoine Russell. So what is Devin even going to do? Like, let's say, I'm just saying hypothetically, let's say Puello beat Sandor Martin because he can box. I think he has more power than Sandor Martin. Let's say he won hypothetically. And then he rematches Gary Antoine Russell. Let's say Gary Antoine Russell gets some things right. Then you mean to tell me Devin Haney's going to come back off of a year plus layoff and a battering and jump in there with Gary Antoine Russell at 140? Plus, you look at recent pictures of Devin Haney and his face look all full. And I don't know if he can even manage his weight, especially if you're depressed or, you know, feel a type of way about what played out in the Ryan Garcia fight. So who knows if Devin Haney's even going to stay at 140? You know, the more time that elapses, the harder it's going to be to make that 140 with how big Devin Haney already looks and doesn't look like he's all the way managing his weight, keeping his weight down. It's just going to be harder and harder because you're going to be on the sidelines longer. You're going to get older. And on top of that, you're already straying away from your weight class. Here's a video I did, is on YouTube, and this is the picture. Like, I mean, look at Devin Haney's weight, bro. Like, does he look like he's close to his walk around weight? He looks way bigger. You know what I mean? So being out of the ring is only going to make that worse. And he's still suspended from the New York State Athletic Commission. So even if he wanted to come back, he can't come back. And he's going to come back as a non-champion. I mean, it's screwed, bro. I see, like, I doubled down on everything I said before in between the rock and a hard place. He's talking about suing because his finances have been disrupted. He's been devalued by Ryan Garcia from this particular fight. And now you look at it, he only had one bidder on his Sandor Martin fight. Now he has no title. He's no longer undisputed. I mean, he could say I was undisputed, but his resume is not really even aging well because George Kambosos, the guy you became undisputed, he lost several fights after that. He lost to Lomachenko and he should have lost to Maxie Hughes, right? So that undisputed run hasn't aged gracefully, I would say. And now you have a non-champion who's going to be on the sidelines, who's not looking like he's managing his weight. So 140 could be very hard to make. I don't know. I'm really wondering where Devin even goes from here. I'm really questioning that, especially if you have PTSD or any kind of negatives from the Ryan Garcia fight. And like I said, now you're not a champion, so you can't say, oh, I'm undisputed, I call the shots. You're not getting back in there right away. People thought you lost to Lomachenko. Like, he's in a rough spot. He's in a rough spot because you look at his last 3 fights and one of them was convincing, and that was Regis Prograis. The Lomachenko and the Garcia fight, people still have their own opinions on what happened in those fights. And then now, after becoming a champion in December, less than 8 months later, you're no longer a champion. You got battered and dropped, which, even though it got expunged in the Ryan Garcia no contest, no decision, people still seen it. So they seen vulnerabilities there, if you will. They seen you getting dropped and those memories. And then now you don't even have a belt. So all that and steel and those types of things really make no sense. And then the fact that Devin Haney's team requested this, they wanted this to happen. So that means they had no intent on fighting Sandor Martin. Sandor Martin's not Ryan Garcia. He doesn't have Osterine in the system. He didn't fail a test. So why that, to me, another reason outside of like ego and pride being hurt, I thought the Sandor Martin was about the most realistic fight for Devin Haney coming off of this Ryan Garcia fight. Because yes, he's tricky, but at least he's not like this forceful puncher, and he's probably a little bit smaller than Devin Haney. So I looked at that as a pretty good fight for Devin Haney to take, based on all things considered, because you don't want to get in there with, like, I don't know, like a Pitbull Cruz or Gary Antoine Russell, big puncher who's really rough coming off that Ryan Garcia fight. I mean, I don't think that's advisable. So I thought that was a realistic fight, but his team, they had other plans. We'll see what they decide to do. And Devin Haney screaming Mauricio like he's gonna get the Barrios fight, but they're talking about Pacquiao getting the Barrios fight. So again, I don't really know realistically where Devin goes. Who's he gonna fight at 47? If he moves to 47, the pressure will immediately start. The clock will be started to fight Jaron Boots Ennis, and that's a super difficult fight where I would definitely favor Jaron Ennis. So I don't even know where he goes. Eddie Hearn threw him and his team under the bus recently. So do you go back to Eddie? Like, what do you even do? Because it seems like the Haneys almost have issues with everybody. Bob Arum said a couple things. Bob Arum bid 2.4. So maybe you have issues there. Like, what's up? You're probably mad at Eddie Hearn and DAZN for not bidding on you and not bidding for your Sandor Martin fight. You gave up your title. You're mad at Ryan Garcia. You're mad at YouTube channels. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comment section, but it is looking like the options are dwindling down for Team Haney.